Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli forces have entered Gaza's largest hospital in what the military says is a targeted operation searching for Hamas infrastructure and weapons. A journalist inside the hospital says soldiers are going room to room interrogating people, but there is no shooting taking place. Israel accuses Hamas of running a command center in tunnels under the hospital, and the US says it has intelligence that supports this. Hamas denies this and says the raid on the hospital is a war crime. Hundreds of civilians have been sheltering there alongside patients and staff. Meanwhile, a tanker has delivered fuel to Gaza for the first time since the war between Hamas and Israel began 5 weeks ago. A senior UN official said it had received 23,000 litres of fuel via Egypt's Rafah crossing. But he warned that Israeli authorities had restricted its use to transporting aid into Gaza and that none could be used to power hospitals or water pumps. Israel has been blocking all deliveries of fuel, saying it could be stolen by Hamas and used for military purposes. The Chinese president has met his US counterpart Joe Biden ahead of the APEC summit. Xi Jinping arrived in San Francisco earlier for only their second face-to-face meeting during the Biden presidency. The two discussed the Israel-Hamas war, Taiwan, war in Ukraine, and election interference. Relations between the two countries deteriorated earlier this year, with the US accusing China of sending a spy balloon across its airspace. At least 36 people have died and 19 others have been injured after a bus plunged into a gorge in northern India's Jammu district. Officials said more than 50 passengers were on board when the bus veered off the road and fell into the 300-foot gorge in Dodda district. The cause of the accident was not immediately known. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his condolences and announced financial compensation for the victims' families. Meanwhile, the lives of 40 Indian labourers who have been trapped in a tunnel for more than 72 hours hang in the balance as authorities try to rescue them. The workers were building the tunnel in northern Uttarakhand state when a part of it caved in due to a landslide on Sunday. State and federal rescue teams have been using a massive drill to push through the debris to reach the men. Officials have been able to establish contact with the workers. Authorities have also brought fresh and more sophisticated drilling equipment from Delhi to speed up the rescue operations. The UK government's Rwanda asylum policy is in disarray after the country's highest court ruled it was unlawful. Ministers claimed the plan to deport asylum seekers and ban them from returning is needed to tackle small boat crossings. But the Supreme Court upheld an earlier Court of Appeal ruling, which said the policy leaves people sent to Rwanda open to human rights breaches. The government has already spent £140 million on the plan. Despite the ruling, the Prime Minister says they will find a way to stop illegal migration.
This morning also the Supreme Court gave a judgment on the Rwanda plan. They confirmed that the principle of removing asylum seekers to a safe third country is lawful. There are further elements that they want additional certainty on and noted that changes can be delivered in the future to address those issues. The government has been working already on a new treaty with Rwanda, and we will finalise that in light of today's judgment. And furthermore, if necessary, I am prepared to revisit our domestic legal framework. But let me say this again, if it becomes clear that our domestic legal frameworks or international conventions are still frustrating plans at that point, I am prepared to change our laws and revisit those international relationships. The British people expect us to do whatever it takes to stop the boats, and that is precisely what this government will deliver.
And the Royal Mint in the UK have a new range of coins to celebrate 6 decades of the James Bond franchise. The latest 007 range features designs marking the 6 decades of Bond. The first coin in the collection shows actor Sean Connery's Bond flying an aircraft named Little Nelly in 1967's You Only Live Twice. The designs for coins celebrating the other decades are yet to be announced. Over the years, the sought-after role of James Bond has been played by actors including Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, and most recently, Daniel Craig. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.